So in Module 11, we're looking at both chapters 10 and 11, money and health, and how these ideas really influence student success. Even though you might say they're not academic subjects or topics, but they have a huge influence on the success of anyone in college. So we're wrapping up the semester, so there's a couple things I want you all to take notice of. So it's important to make a list of things that you need to accomplish in the next few weeks. And also you can tell that some of the big ideas that I have about Chapter 10, 3 Steps to Financial Freedom, the power process idea, in Chapter 11, embrace health in all its aspects, and I think it's very important to talk about suicide prevention awareness, and the power process idea for Chapter 11 is surrender. So before we start talking about Chapter 10 and 11, I really recommend that everyone take a moment and just take a pause, make a list of everything you need to accomplish between now and the end of the semester. Include in your list any kind of project, paper, exam, and also include times that you will study and get ready for exam, as well as time for finishing up projects. Then my suggestion is that you take a moment and share your plan with another human. When we say our plans out loud, we're more likely to do them. When we say it to another person, that person may help hold us accountable. So it's up to you. Try it out. Maybe this idea will be useful to you. And now for Chapter 10 on money. So here are some of the things I think are really interesting about Chapter 10. Certainly the cost of education, which is an interesting exercise on page 313. You might want to try that out. It's very illuminating. But overall, if you look at the chapter as a whole, you should be able to see that one of the overriding ideas is kind of similar to the beginning of this book. That in order to really learn something about money, you have to first be honest about how you are using money. So I like this idea of the 3 steps to financial freedom. That in the first place, you need to discover at a very basic level how much money is coming in and how much is going out. So people who give advice about personal finance and improving your own dealings with money suggest that you really keep very good records of what money is coming in and what money is going out. And that way you can know, oh wow, maybe I don't really need to spend that money on that extra latte. The second step is to commit to spend no more than you have, which is pretty serious because that would mean not using credit cards or taking out loans or overextending yourself. And the final is to apply suggestions to save more and earn more. So see what you think about these ideas. I think it's also important to note that college students are often targets for credit card companies. They want to get you hooked on, before you have a lot of earning power, get you hooked on using credit cards so that when you do have more earning power, they've got you. So be aware that you are actually, as a class of person, actually a target of credit card companies. So see what you think about the ideas there about really being cautious and aware of how you are establishing credit and keeping your credit. Here's some ideas related to making more money. It's said that if you focus on your education, this will pay off in the long run. Now, it may be a kind of delayed gratification, but trust me from experience, it is worth it. You will make more money over a lifetime if you finish and complete your college degree. Sometimes a good idea to work while you're in school. I know a lot of you who are taking the online version of this class are. But sometimes, if you work too much, then it detracts from the quality of your how much you give to school. So be aware of that. Another great idea is doing the best at every job so that you can become worthy of great recommendations and promotions. So you might consider some other areas where you can earn some extra money. And really, I like this idea of just opening yourself up to new ideas that may present themselves. And when you give yourself this suggestion, sometimes you notice things that weren't there before. Here's some of the ways that you can spend less money. You can consider looking at housing and transportation, possibly, just budgeting your time when you're doing errands, reducing or limiting small or regular purchases, calculating the time and effort a purchase will cost. If you made $10 an hour and you wanted to buy a $5 drink, that would be over 30 minutes of your labor. Consider your values before making a purchase or a decision. Do some comparison shopping. Cook for yourself. And yes, cooking for yourself is a cost-effective way, and it's a way to spend less money. Sometimes the cheapest product is not the best. You can conserve energy, pay in cash, do your own repairs, even postpone purchases. Really, the idea of keeping track of your expenses, especially things like entertainment expenses, when you begin to write it down, you're actually less likely to spend it. So try out some of these ideas if you haven't already. I'm sure you have some other ideas that you could add to the mix. Risk being a fool is really a great power process idea for Chapter 10, and it really means having some courage. Taking risks means the willingness to experiment with new skills and even possibly fail sometimes. It doesn't mean escaping responsibility, but it does mean trying something new. Maybe it's something as simple as being in a class that you are normally really shy in and actually being bold and asking a question. Consider talking to someone that you haven't talked to before, or putting a message out to someone in an online class to reach out. I have uploaded a YouTube video of the Free Hugs campaign, and this is a very interesting story about a guy in Australia whose grandmother had died, and he came back from Great Britain where his grandmother had lived and was sad. So he went out to this public forum and put up a sign that said "Free Hugs," which seems pretty outrageous. And it sort of spawned this movement. So I hope you enjoy the video. Maybe you've seen it before. This very simple message is important. And now for Chapter 11. In Chapter 11, the big idea is all about how to take care of yourself and wake up to health. How you can rest your body. How you can move your body. How you can fuel it, observe it, and protect it. So consider, what are the ways that you take care of your body? And if you're not doing that right now, how could you incorporate some new behaviors where you're taking better care of your body? What do you do to take care of your emotional health? There's an article in this chapter on self-image. Within that article on self-image, there's a reference to Albert Bandura's research on self-efficacy. So I want you to look at that. He's a very interesting psychologist at Stanford who's done a lot of research on how having a belief that you can get something done is a predictor of success, and it's called self-efficacy. If you look on page 324 in the article Choose Your Fuel, there's a reference to a very interesting writer, Michael Pollan, who has some great advice for eating. He says, eat food. In other words, choose whole foods over processed foods. That means don't eat something with a shelf life. Second little nugget, not too much. Mostly plants. Fruits, vegetables, and grains are loaded with chemicals that can actually help you. So here's some ideas about food safety and moderate intake of sugars and salts and alcohol, and exercising for 30 minutes a day are all great ideas to help you pay attention to how you're fueling your body. So what's your definition of addiction? What are the range of substances and activities that could be considered addictive? Texting is an addiction. Drinking, binge eating, unreasonable thoughts, obsessive thoughts. Check out page 340. See what you think. Suicide is an important topic for us to talk about in a college class. Even though some of you may be taking this class online and maybe you have families and you work 40 hours a week, but this is a precious time and it's also a stressful time. So I'd like to talk about how we can be better at preventing suicide. And certainly one of the ways we can do this is by knowing the warning signs. Life is too precious. So when someone is talking about suicide, when someone has a plan, when they have a history of attempts, or they seem to be dwelling on problems, or it seems to you they seem depressed, I'd like to suggest to you the number one thing that you can do is ask someone the question, are you thinking about committing suicide? If you really are concerned about someone, this will not push them over the edge. It will not make them commit suicide. But to simply ask that question is a good thing to do, and it may save a life. So the myth busting that I'm referring to on the slide is the idea that if you ask somebody that question, it would somehow make them commit suicide if they hadn't been thinking of it already. This is a myth. So how can we prevent it? One thing I want you to know is there is a 24-hour hotline that is staffed nationwide. It's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and the number is 1-800-273-TALK. So know that number. You can give it to someone you love. Really, the idea is if someone you know or you yourself have thoughts of suicide, it's important to take it seriously, not dismiss it, not talk it away, but actually take prompt action and get help for someone. So there's lots of ideas, but I want you to be aware of this fabulous 24-hour 1-800-273-TALK National Suicide Prevention Hotline. It's important to take care of yourself and to not take on too much, but really to hook up the person with someone who can help them. If you or someone you know is in danger, give them the number. Ask them the question. It's important. And for our final slide, let's talk about the power process idea for Chapter 11, which is called surrender. And this isn't about resignation. It's not about quitting or doing nothing. But surrender is about letting go of always having to be the only person in control. So if you can let go for a moment, you can actually avoid becoming a slave to your problems. And it really is a way of recognizing that asking for help is useful. You can try this out for the big issues in your life and the small ones. Ask for help. If you haven't done it yet this semester, you can still start now.